5-10 seconds after utlampi, where you can still feel the waves on your face, just you're like, who? Yeah, you're probably asking, Karabo, kimang osikila hotlampa mo life, eh? Yeah, I've been slapped by a taxi driver for refusing to date him. Gender-based violence in South Africa. That was the first and last time I ever been clapped in my life. Don't look at me like one of those chicks and I didn't twing mantwa bar fight brawl. I was never that girl, so don't get excited. Some entitled taxi driver slapped me because I wouldn't jolla with him. You know these guys were like, hello, and you tell them no thank you. Like, wow. Yeah, but it happened. It's a long story. I'm not even gonna explain how that even happened. So I know what impama that feels ingati there's a wave traveling all over your face before you can like shake yourself and realize what just happened. Like, yeah, you will feel there's a ripple of water on your face just from being whammed, and it takes a minute to regroup. Yeah, ne. Gender-based violence in South Africa. Anyway, at least I should be grateful because I've only ever had one such experience in my life. There are women who go through that every 3 days, 3 weeks, every month, maybe even every day. Like men putting ripples of water on a woman's face, wah, and she does not even know when the world just happened over there. Stuff that causes like something that burst in your ear. Just as they wham you. You don't know what that was. Did it mess with your hearing? Like what just happened? Yeah. Kitsibam. And that's the only one I've ever been endured through. So women that set out abusive relationships, I just don't get it. I do not get it. Yeah, anywho, this cheeky mistreated me the way that she mistreated me because she had been messing with my boyfriend just as. All of these people right now that are calling good evil, evil good, and refuse to give credit where it's due, where I'm concerned, hence you are facing the tribulation. The reason why you're treating me like this is because the exact same phenomenon or issue that dwelt inside that colored chick is dwelling inside all of y'all. There is something of mine that you have stolen. There is something of mine that you're sitting on that does not belong to you, that you're running with, hoping to basically tell everybody it's yours. There is something in Ichonjile. This little animal in America has tried to steal my virtue, or he has stolen my ministry, my YouTube channel. Like, people have stolen my success, my prosperity. They've stolen my family. They have stolen where is that thing? Come already, show yourself. Have yourself a merry little Christmas. Except it's not Christmas. You know, there is nothing more annoying than knowing something or a guy, and then next thing when you're looking for it, how it totally. Anyway, it's I wanted to patty me on my lips because it's that time, whatever. Ki New Year, ki December, not anymore, ki January boss. Now se go bora. But in my life, in my life, it's ideal. Anywho, people have stolen from me. Former friends, family members, any random late J's and Joes, like strangers even on the internet, abantu that I do not know from a bar of soap, have seen it fit to steal from me, and then they console themselves with the fact that I'm going nowhere in life. You console yourself like that chickie consoled herself, and I've got nothing to my name. And that my boyfriend was cheating on me. That's what she was consoling herself with. My boyfriend was cheating on me with her, and he was a dastardly human being that was like literally flirting and uzwaring a kiss with a woman in the same presence as his girlfriend. Like, he was just a rando njefela, that boyfriend of mine, and she prided herself in my man having no respect for me. That's what under heaven it is. That's all that she could run with. She wanted to take out squinch on a person that did not know why squinch was been taken out on her. A person that had no idea as to why she is sought revenge after. Why somebody wants revenge against me. What have I done to deserve your desire for revenge against me? Revenge in and of itself as a word suggests that I did you wrong in some way. But it turns out I didn't do you wrong. I didn't do you wrong. You did me wrong and then felt entitled to what was mine. You did me wrong, then felt entitled to what was mine. And so now your revenge is to treat me like I'm nobody and I'm nothing. Now your revenge is to act as if though I don't matter. It's to pretend that basically what I've done is not noteworthy. It's not praiseworthy. You're trying to pretend or act as if though whatever it is that I am striving to achieve is of no essence. Because you're taking out squinch on a person that you hurt. And in order that you might get away with murder, you then pride yourself in how difficult it is for them to gain vindication against you. You did them wrong. You messed with an 18-year-old's boyfriend at the age of 28. And now you're treating her like she is your 5-year-old niece. Jane, what are you doing? Jane, don't touch that. Jane, come on, stop running around all over the show. Jane. Like, I'm not Jane, I'm Karabo, and I'm 18. And I'm smart too at school. I do well. So much so that, like, look at how I'm slaying you on 30 seconds. Yeah, I might be young, but I'm ready. Anyway, no, sorry, that just came out. Yeah, I might be young, but I am fit for very many things that even you as older people are not quite walking in the footsteps. Y'all hurt me, y'all break me, y'all persecute me, baste me with vitriol and disrespect, and basically pump pride in yourselves and everything that you have that I do not. Because you took something from me. You took something from me. You're thieves. You cannot even give credit where it is due because you have stolen from me. But you see, the thing about not giving credit where it is due is that it's obvious when somebody's obviously winning, when they're lambasting, when they're butchering, actually, when they're clappering. Go obvious. When a person is making strides that excel above yours, it's clear. Go obvious, guys. The obviousness of the person who has tactically won a very difficult psychological competition is stark. And so those of you that keep on treating her like she is a child, little Jane the niece, that has to keep getting yelled at because she won't stop running with the zoomies all around across the house, breaking vases. When you treat an 18-year-old woman or a 17-year-old girl like she is 5, you disrespect the fact that she aged from 5 to 17, and so therefore is not quite a 5-year-old, even though she's also a child. At 17 she's still a child, but she's not as little a child as 5-year-old version of her, as the 5-year-old version of her. When you disrespect a person's progression from one place to another, you ignore the God who created them and built them from strength to strength. It is written in God's word that Jesus Christ, when he was growing up, he gained favor in his growing up with God and with man as he was growing up. That is an acknowledgement of a person moving from the age of 1 to 2 to 3 to 4 to 5 to 6 to 7 to 8 to 9 to 10 to 20 to 39 to 40 to 50 to 80. Like, you cannot ignore all that which it took for a person to get to a certain place. So to belittle a human being as something much smaller than what under heaven it is that they truly are is to disregard God's power to progress a human being from one place to another. I'll admit I have nothing. I am poverty stricken. I don't have my own home. I've lost everything. But you cannot treat me the way that I was being treated when I had just gotten out of high school, having indeed nothing, however with great desires to get everything that I want. You cannot treat me like the thing that I was when I was that thing. There was a time when perhaps you could underestimate me because I had yet to work a single day in my life. There was a time that you could underestimate my skill, my talent. There was a time when you could also underestimate my potential or my ability to earn a living. The scope of it, for you had not yet observed it. You had not seen yet what I can do. But then I went out there and I earned respect. I flew like a bird. I grew astronomically quickly up the corporate ladder. I kicked and massacred all my colleagues to the ground and became number one in every space that I was in. I slathered with prosperity everyone that ever underestimated me, to a point where, just like my teachers in school, even though you treat me like some little whatever at the beginning of the year, now that it's second term, I'm your favorite student now, aren't I? I became that girl. I grew. So you cannot treat me like I'm standing outside of, you cannot treat me at 39 like I'm standing outside of Sir John Adamson High School after my last matric paper, getting ready to get on a taxi to go home, wondering if I've passed, waiting for the newspapers to arrive to release matric results to see if at all I made it into Wits. You can't treat me like that girl. Because on that day, yes, you can underestimate the girl, and the girl now gotta go prove that you made a mistake by underestimating me. Don't look at me with this white cast sunscreen and think that I don't know how to do other things perfectly. I'm good at stuff. But you don't know that yet. It's okay. You don't know that yet. So I'm gonna humble myself to your lack of knowledge about my true skill. I'm going to quietly work until you see that I'm worth your while. Because people gotta prove themselves. Gotta have respect for that whole process. Earn your keep. I agree. But I did, didn't I? I did earn my keep. I strove past underestimation. I worked under bosses that were not as smart as me, but I humbled myself underneath them. I subdued myself to their pettiness. One boss that I had, upon discovering my suite of giftedness, so mistreated me that one time she humiliated me in front of all of my colleagues by causing them to listen to a call of mine, because I was working in the call center. And even though I couldn't find anything wrong with my call, She teased me and mocked me in front of my colleagues to a point where they felt sad for me. I could see in their faces that they were emotional. The way that she was ripping me apart in front of them. They even imagined her inappropriate. The same boss, a couple of weeks down the line, then asks me to write her a compelling letter for 702 radio because she had a child that suffered from some form of cancer and could no longer attend school. And so she was 702. There was a time when you could get a birthday wish awarded you. Write in a wish into 702 and they'll make it a dream come true for you. And this woman was like, I want to write into 702 for my son to be given everything that he needs in order to basically be homeschooled, seeing as he's got cancer. And she asked me privately, closing, like her best friend was the manager of the whole call center. And she asked her best friend to give her the office just to talk to me. And we sat in her best friend's office while she pleaded with me to help her write a letter to 702 because she can tell that I'm very well spoken, I'm eloquent, I have a way with the way I think, I'm good with critical thinking, and she really respects and appreciates that. And if I could help her write this letter, she would be really grateful. The next day I came to work and I gave her the letter, having put it on a USB. I typed it at home, and she cried when she, after reading it, and gave me this like hard knock hug in that room that she was in. But a couple of weeks prior to that, she ripped apart my work in front of my colleagues, saying that I am worthless, only to ask me a favor with the very same thing that she was ripping apart. That's what happens when you don't give credit where it is due. You never know when you might need somebody. But that boss treated me the way that she treated me because she was dealing with an employee that was so smart that she was obviously misplaced where it is that she was working. And so she decided to use that against me, only for her to need me later. So what I'm trying to explain to you guys is that I've done my time under crazy people. I've done my time under jealous bosses. I've done my time under silly friends, under colleagues that I'm on the same level with. And then they make an observation of my star quality and they start to band against me, treat me like trash, laugh at things that I say. Like I've had a history of, as soon as I open my mouth, people just starting to laugh before I could even speak a whole sentence. That's what happens when you're super gifted in the midst of mediocre people. They will act like you're nothing. I've done my time in front of such company as that. And I, with humility, just went through them until mature enough people were prepared to give me the promotions I deserved. And so I grew from strength to strength until ultimately everybody that wanted to underestimate me just couldn't anymore. And I got given the kudos that I deserved. I was given the applause, the congratulations I deserved. I was given the promotions I needed in order to get to the level that my giftedness ought to have awarded me. I did all that because I realized that if at all I'm literally just outside of Sir John Adamson High School after my last paper matric. I've got no business telling people I'm bigger than that. Don't treat me like that. I've got no business at just outside Sir John Adamson High School on the last day of my last paper matric. I ain't got no business telling people, don't you know who I am? I'm smart. I'm gifted. You don't know I can slay you and this and that and blah, blah, blah. I ain't got no business being arrogant. I don't have any business being pompous, telling people, don't you talk to me like that because I'm going to do better than you in the appraisal score. I'm going to kick your behind in that particular competition. So don't you dare speak smack to me. I humbled myself to processes of a recruitment where you first have to go through, what do you call this, like a telephone interview, and then you write an essay, and then you go through psychometric testing, and then you go through group tests. Like, I don't like working in groups. I don't. And the reason I don't like working in groups is, let's just put it out there, I'm really gifted, and so I tend to find everybody slow. But I did the time with group work. I humbled myself to everybody's opinion. I lowered myself to taking in everybody's ideas and running with them. When I was at WITS, whenever they would throw us into group assignments, I would strategically ask for the job of collation. Basically the job of putting everything together so that we can submit an assignment. So I can review everybody's work by myself and then see what it is under heaven it is that I can not so much change or tweak up, but how I can present it so as to maximize what marks that we're all gonna get. Because I knew that they would see what in the world it is that I changed. But I tweaked it in such a way so as to, like I said, maximize the likelihood of getting a good result. And so that is me humbling myself to group work. Group work. Being disappointed when the whole group assignment comes back with 72% pass. And I'm like, we could have, like, if I had done this on my own, I would have done a lot better. I would have gotten 85, maybe 90. But because I was working in a group, I took the 72% in my stride. That is what I come from. That's what I come from. I did the time with people. I humbled myself to group work without acting, pompous or arrogant or trying to boss everybody. Ain't nobody I've ever worked with in a group can ever claim that I was once very bossy, not willing to work with people. That's a lie. Nobody can say that to you. There are people that I was with at Wits for years that I had to work on assignments with over different years as we were progressing from one year to the next, and none of them would ever, if at all they're speaking any truth, say Uguti, I was bossy. I was never bossy. Even though I had opinions, but I kept them inside my head. I kept them in my head because I realized in life, you gotta just take in your stride. That you're gonna work with people that you don't want to work with, and that you're gonna have to humble yourself to that teamwork. Otherwise, you're gonna be a misfit in society. If you want to be a paradigm shifter, you gotta do the strides, the laps around the athletics patch to finally be number one, that you might run a show instead of being run. But first I had to be run. I had to be run by people. Do you understand what I'm saying? I had to work in groups. I had to humble myself to all that. I did the whole panel interview, psychometric testing. I've worked under, like I said, bosses that treated me like trash because they were intimidated by me. And never once did I ever disrespect them or quit my job because you don't deserve me or I can do better. I remember when one of my bosses gave me a bad appraisal score despite the fact that after some chick started working at MTN, nobody wanted to train her because why in the world under heaven are you successfully interviewed for an intermediate project management job at a telecommunications company so large as MTN with no past experience of project management? How did you get this job? It was obviously nepotism, something that pushed her in. Favoritism of sorts was mobilized, and as a result of that favoritism, nobody wanted to train her because they felt like she does not deserve this job. There are coordinators, administrators that have been working for years, shadowing PMs, working for years, trying on their career tracks, trying to crack into project management jobs. And this woman goes and hires some inexperienced person that was on a sabbatical for 2 years before working for MTN. A job that has been getting fought for by so many administrators, project administrators, however, that were working very hard to try and become project managers, that had done all that time. And she went and gave the job to some chick. Like I said, she had been on a 2-year hiatus. This chick had been on a 2-year hiatus. After getting married, she decided to take a sabbatical from working for 2 years, and the last job that she was in, she quit it because her boss annoyed her. And then next thing, she was an intermediate project manager at MTN. Not even a junior. Not even a junior. Okay, if she's intermediate, then she should indeed walk in and basically hit the ground running. Doesn't she have to do that? This chick walks up and asks for training from one of my colleagues. And this chick was like, yes, like, you're not gonna believe it. That chick to be a project manager. How did she even get this job? Do you know what it took for me to land a job interview at MTN, first and foremost, and secondly, for me to succeed? How many times I had to be interviewed? How many rounds of interviews I had to go through? Inside this company, and this chick tells me that I must train her. Goodness gracious, what is going on? All that administrator over there, this chick that works in our team, that's always following me around in my projects, sitting with me, taking my minutes, doing all that stuff, learning the ropes from me. Why didn't she get given the opportunity? Why didn't she get given the opportunity if she wanted somebody that was basically just striving to move in? Like when you have to work like ninja to get something, and then somebody else gets it and they don't have any experience. That's what was going on with this Indian chick. And mind you, she ended up being the person that betrayed the living daylights out of me, causing the loss of my entire career. That same chick, my boss, because ain't nobody out here in these streets trying to train up that chick, because everybody's like, but why is she here? We don't understand it. Obviously, this is nepotism. My boss was too busy. She was running a program. She was running like big fat chunky meetings like with CEOs and what have you. She was a boss. She didn't have no time to be training from scratch a little baby to grow her from grade 2 to grade 3. Nah, from grade 2 to matric, because that's how ridiculous this chick's jump all of a sudden was. And so she basically paired me with this girl. She was like, follow Karabo around. She did not even ask me. She just merely threw her to me. She threw this chick to me on some, nobody else will train this chick, but I have an employee in my team that takes all types of rubbish lying down, and she's going to be the one to train this chick the ropes. I taught her her job. Do you understand what I'm saying? I trained that girl to be a project manager, and after training her to be a project manager, she goes and gives her in the same year a higher appraisal score than me, gives the whole team higher appraisal scores than me, and I had the lowest score in the whole team. How did I know that? Because one time, after she had appraised me basically, and my heart was broken because I was like, goodness, you're messing also with my money. That's what was going on here. You're messing with my bonus. You're messing with how I look to the company. Yeah, that day I stayed around a little bit later in the office because that's how I always used to be anyway. I used to work extra hours just to push work. and there was this one colleague that always had a box of tissues. The administrator of the team, she always had a box of tissues at a desk. So did I also always have a box of tissues, but I ran out, and we had a rapport where if I ran out of tissues, she would, ask me, Karabo, can I have some tissues? And if she ran out, I'd just go to ask her, Chick, can I use your tissues? But she was gone. I could not just ask her over the desk on some tissues. So I walked to her desk, and she used to sit next to my boss. I walked to her desk, went around, and as I went to her desk to go and grab tissues, I saw on my boss's desk, she had piled our appraisals, one on top of the other. And this chick's appraisal, the one that I trained up, hers was uppermost, it was on the top. And so I basically glanced over it by mistake, and I saw her appraisal score, and it was higher than mine. It was higher than mine. A woman I trained up in her job got a higher appraisal score than me. My heart sank, and while I wanted to exercise a great deal of self-control, coupled with the fact that there were cameras in the company, if they had found me doing that, I could have actually gotten fired. Because you're not supposed to snoop like that. You're not supposed to know other people's appraisal scores. It is company policy. You're not supposed to tell each other. Even each other's salaries you can't discuss, lest there should be some riot happening. But I decided anyway to take a risk, and I paged through them, all of them, because they were separated by binders. Yeah, I paged through all of them, and mine was somewhere in the stash of that. Yeah, and I literally had the lowest appraisal score in the whole team. In the entire team, I had the lowest appraisal score. What does that say, guys? What does that say to her boss? Her boss, our general manager. What does that say? The worst performing project manager in your team is Karabo. She is the weakest link. And so when her boss thinks that, again, the scores of the whole team could not be too low, because then she would not be able to successfully get a high score herself. So the aggregate of the scores of the team ought to be a reflection of her too. So she gave everybody some hella high scores, but mine were really low, because she was trying to create an impression about me to her boss and the leadership of our entire teams, that her least performing PM was Karabo. Except here's the thing, the same men and women that she was trying to give an opinion, I'm nothing, was sometimes privy to my work through my resources and my projects. They in and of themselves had subordinates that would every so often partake in my projects, and they took opinions back to their bosses. They worked with me, some of those bosses of which every so often I would have to even give a report on how I'm doing in like perhaps a weekly or a monthly comprehensive team feedback session, and I would be chosen to speak, and I would be speaking about my projects in front of these people, and to them they basically got a whole bunch of cognitive dissonance as to, okay, this is the unperforming chick, but she's doing really well in front of us, but maybe, I guess you know her better, you know her best. There was a whole bunch of cognitive dissonance as to my superiority as a project manager, until that same woman got demoted because there was a restructure in the company to project manager, and then some other guy successfully interviewed for the job that she wanted to be a senior manager over project managers, business analysts, and testers, and she didn't get the job, but that other guy got the job. And when that guy got the job, within a month, I was his 2IC. I was basically the go-to girl for everything he wanted. And as soon as they hooked up a company-wide program to try and, hey guys, it was like a whole initiative to try and get the business from one place to another, okay? He placed me in head of that whole company-wide program. He chose me. My new boss chose me when my old boss had given the whole business an opinion that I was underperforming. It humiliated the living daylights out of her because I flew like a bird. I shone like a star because some other person from outside made a decision to do what was better where I am concerned. But that same boss, that same one that gave me that horrible appraisal score on that day when I went to go and fetch those tissues, and then I saw the uppermost appraisal score of the chick that I was training being higher than mine. My heart was so broken. I was already a Christian, and I went home and I prayed. I cried on Psalm 37 in my Bible. I had this small little, I've had a thing about these tiny little bubbles that can fit in your hand. I had a white one with gold, like writing just like this one, and it had the red letter in it, and I opened it to Psalm 37 when I got home, and as much as I tried to just read that psalm, unfettered, yeah, I could not help but bawl. And so I remember that particular Bible on Psalm 37, that particular page and a couple of pages beneath it, they were crinkled up from my tears, because I was in a lot of pain over what I discovered was discrimination against me. That this boss was obviously doing something to sabotage my career, it was clear. And I prayed to God and I moaned and I begged and I asked him to give me humility to basically go to work the next day and continue to smile and work. I never once complained to that boss. I didn't give her attitude. I did not wear animosity. I just did my time. And in due season, she got demoted. And then the other guy rose up. And I was then revealed as the star that I always have been. So what I'm trying to explain to you guys is that I have progressed from a kid that knew how good she is at everything she does, at what she wants to do, but had yet to walk in those footsteps. I have the time to display the footsteps I took to get from that place to the place where now I was finally what it is that I always knew I was. I graduated past the point of having to humble myself to people who are irresponsible with my talents because they can see they're there, but they don't want people seeing them. I have lived in a society where enough people were honest and moral to give me a chance and to allow me to fly, seeing as I displayed that I could jump. And so they gave me an opportunity to fly, and when then they did, they were not disappointed by my flight. I've lived in a world where yes, I have been dealt a bad blow by savages that wanted to hide me, keep me in a conspicuous corner. But alongside all that iniquity also dwelt righteousness. I've lived in a world where there were righteous men and righteous women prepared to hear me out. Unfortunately, however, I have sadly been placed in environments where after a righteous woman or a righteous man rightly promotes me, I then get thrown into the hands of an evil man or an evil woman. That's always been the way that my career has been. At Nedbank, I got interviewed for some training center job by a righteous woman, or a woman that was not trying to flip good and evil, was not trying to flip bitter and sweet. And because I was as skilled as I was in the interview, she was like, stop, I don't even want to continue to interview you for this job. I have a colleague in Hatfield, Pretoria, that is looking for an actual trainer, never mind an administrator for a training center. I want to introduce you to her because I feel you'd be better fitted for that job instead of you running paper, pushing paper, and ordering hooking up purchase orders for biscuits for training centers. I don't want you doing that because I can see that you've got bigger never mind bigger ambitions, but you've got a bigger skill set than that. And I was like, yeah, I'll take it. And her colleague did hire me. Her colleague did hire me. And I ended up being a trainer indeed in Pretoria for Nedbank. But then after that, I remember this woman that interviewed me, she saw me for her friend or her colleague. She liked me for her colleague, but there were no openings, there were no positions in her department for trainers. But her colleague had an opening. Her colleague had a vacancy. And so I was a righteous woman, or the tantamount of righteousness, put me in an environment where I would get the promotion. But thereafter, I was handed over to somebody else. That just made my life a living nightmare. It's always been like that for me. I get interviewed by people that really like me, and then when I start working the job, some boss gives me grief like no man's business. It's just been that way. Wire. Even at MTN, I was interviewed by some guy that was once upon a time a project manager, got promoted into a program manager, and when he was a program manager, he was like, Karabo, I like you. I want you to interview for project management for my team. And I was interviewed by him and HR in the meeting that I was with, in the interview, and I was excited when I got the job that, my boss is this guy. He literally poached me and fished me out from the wilderness to put me in his team. And at the last minute, my boss's boss was like, no, I want Karabo to go to that team. And so I was snatched from his hands and given to another woman. And the woman that I would get given to is the very one that gave me the wicked appraisal score. Like literally the worst one out of the whole team. Even lower than a woman that I trained up in the job, and she was still waddling around like a ducky. She was still wobbly legged. She was still wobbly kneed. She was not firm, sturdy in her job yet. She had not yet arrived at a point of being solid in her job. She still needed help from me, and yet she got a better appraisal score. She was still following me around in meetings, and yet she got a better appraisal score than me. If I had stayed with the other dude, I might not have even lost my job at all at MTN. At all. But the sad thing is, the righteous have been getting unraveled for a very long time. And now we've reached the end of ourselves. That same guy got demoted when all the program managers got demoted to project managers. So he applies successfully for a job as a program manager, gets promoted, and then he gets demoted because of a company restructure. So he lost his standing too, unfortunately. But that's just what's been happening. Like people, the Lord had placed the right people all over corporate South Africa, all over the business arena, whatever, in order to help his children along, or the righteous along, or his agenda, or holiness on the earth, that it might be proliferated. He placed them all over South Africa. And then one day, some funny, ominous cloud hung over us all. And we found people being uprooted, defamed, humiliated, demoted, that were important to keep pushing the agenda of the righteous along, or the holiness, or the right standing of the land in the sight of God. And when those guys were then humiliated to positions of what do you call this thing, lowliness, they now could no longer lift people up. They now no longer were neutral, like unbiased, like people who see talent and want to run with it. They see it and they poach it instead of try to, never mind exploit it, but bury it. People like those. It's like in South Africa, they've been demoted, or they've been buried, they've been hidden. All that's left are all of these sharks that are full of exploitation. The best of the best in South Africa are being buried by Baloyi in the office. They keep on bewitching colleagues. They keep on uprooting people who ought stay in the business arena because of jealousy. And all the people that are neutral, all the people that are sober, that are righteous, that are still calling good evil and evil good, that are still calling bitter sweet and sweet bitter, people who have not warped the way that the world ought work, and people who are not so jealous of their next man that they refuse to acknowledge credit where it is due, they are being buried. They've been hidden. They've been slapped out of the way in South Africa. And so having been slapped out of the way, kids that are really gifted, really talented, like the best ones in the room, are being smothered by irresponsible, weak colleagues that are using witchcraft to push people out the way, blow them out the way, like the chaff. And so like I say, and I will continue to say this over and over again, what in the world does corporate South Africa look like when witches are running the show and nobody can come up for air? What does South Africa look like when the wicked are the ones that are ruling? When people that are obviously good, people that have proven themselves as good, are being ignored despite the voluminous piles of evidence in their favor? When you just ignore a person's credentials in favor of a bribe, or in favor of nepotism, or in favor of some funny little agenda proliferated by a favor that has been given to a person for no other reason than where they come from, who they know, what their skin color is. When you are no longer giving people accolades based on the fact that they can actually do a certain thing, you are eroding at the quality of the country. You are eroding at the quality of the skills in the country. And you are withholding from good people the ability to build skills that they might ultimately build the country. You have robbed me of an entire decade of continuing to gain experience in corporate South Africa. You have made out of me a vagrant in these streets, even though I've always been very gifted. I was willing to be humble in the beginning stages of my career, my life, because I was just some kid that knew she was gifted, but nobody else knew, neither cared. And I had to prove myself. And I did that over years. I did that. I got to where it is that I ultimately got over years. And then somebody decided to rip the carpet from under my feet. That very chick that I trained up to become a project manager was the biggest reason why I lost my job at MTN. I was sabotaged through her. So here it is that I'm out here training a woman. We worked so closely. We worked so closely together. I trained her up so much that she and I became close. We became friends, fast friends, very tight, strong relationship we had, almost like best friends, because she was always walking around with me everywhere because I was training her. And the same chick betrayed me, pulled the rug from under my feet. We were tight. We were friends too. We spoke on weekends. That's how friendly we were. And she pulled the rug from under my feet. And she still got a job today while I've lost mine. She went on right ahead to grab for herself 10 more years of experience while I have sat here gathering dust trying to find some other way to make money. South Africa spat me out. That's why I am saying that the rapture is here, the tribulation is here, the world is ending. Why? Because it's one of the signs of the last days. People are going to call good evil and evil good. Woe to the man that calls bitter sweet, exchanges bitter for sweet. When you call up down and down up, when you call upside down right way up, woe to you. And in the last days, people are going to call right way up, upside down. And we are there. Look at my life. So when you refuse to give credit where it is due, you display that you are walking in an end times fulfilled prophecy, where you are calling good evil and evil good. When you are enabling the agenda of nefarious people, when you no longer care about the actual skill set of a person, just what they can do for you. you are shooting yourselves in the foot because you're taking out true skill out of your countries. You are extracting paradigm shifters. It is the reason why the world gets to a point where they allow one man to run the show, when there are no longer thought leaders and paradigm shifters actually innovating in your countries. Of course, you're going to hand over your power to one mere mortal because he's going to be so incredibly gifted that you are going to see that you're in dire need of giftedness. And so you're going to give your power over to the Antichrist because you took away gifted souls in the world that would have been right competition with him. But you know how competition commissions in the country make sure that companies cannot partake in unsavory business practices that massacre competition, like bullying other entrants in the market out through unsavory competitive practices. That whole thing exists in order to make sure that everybody's given a fair shot at partaking in the economy. Competition is essentially healthy. When you take away healthy competition and you start to play dirty and you eradicate from society true skill in favor of mediocrity, however, that does not show. Because the barometer by which you measure that mediocrity is yet more mediocrity, and so you cannot see that you're falling short. Why? Because you have extracted all the gifted out of society. On that day, when somebody with a level of skill set or giftedness or talentedness or power of oratory, gift of oratory that the Antichrist is going to have comes on the scene, you're going to want to give all of your might to him. You're going to want to worship him. You're going to think he's God because he's going to be so excellent above literally the rest of you. Drones that will have been working in corporates across your countries where it is that you are at, that have kicked out true skill, that have kicked out people that can be able to identify something and knock it out the woods because it's that much better. People who are so good that they can win competitions by miles, guys, like as in, you know, fufura your competitor. When you win a competition by a stretch, like a massive stretch, people like those you have extracted out of the market such that now competition is so boring. It's so neck on neck. Whatever is going on in this country, it's just so unimpressive. There's no music to it. There is nothing mellifluous. There is nothing like just chaotic and like an orchestra causing wins by landslides by people. The way people are just so gifted. Now we're like neck on neck. We're like just cracking past breaking even because all the paradigm shifters have been either extracted out of the country by the diaspora, people working by the skills exodus. The diaspora is out there working in the United Kingdom or whatever, or they're like Karabo sitting literally buried in the back of her mother's house in a shack, trying to cause people to see why it is that she is a freaking travesty. To this day, I am still working like a dog to prove myself, even though I believe at this point I've already shown my value. And having shown it, people should be giving credit where it's due, like it used to be back in the day. I should not have had to work this much to get myself recognized and rightfully accoladed, awarded. I started to notice this travesty, this abomination happening at MTN, where it is that there was this like one award that was highly sought after by employees because it also came with a massive cash prize for stars performance. It was called MTN Stars, and the people that would be nominated therein and also people who would ultimately win were so freaking mediocre. They were so mediocre at the expense of truly gifted people in the company that I was like, who in the world makes the decisions for who wins MTN Stars? I was always confused because whenever I would work with those same people that have won this award or that were nominated for it, I would realize even on the project, and yet last year they came number 2 in the race. Yeah, MTN Stars. Who is the nominating committee? That's the thing. It's not anybody that's the nominating committee. It's people who decide to put each other there that they might progress their own careers even though they're doing terribly on the job. Stuff like that ultimately gets noticed. A company falls at the seams on that day. True talent and true stardom is no longer apparent. Do you understand? Because people are getting like they're winning competitions neck on neck, never by a landslide anymore. No longer are superstars identified in the room because everybody is barely breaking even. Like there's draws more often than basically ought to be desired. The people are coming equal, drawing neck on neck, and then now you have to do a deal breaker, a tie breaker. They keep getting tied, and in order for then the competition to be won, a tie got to be broken. Why are people tying so much? It shows that our skills are being humiliated. They're being compressed. Our skills are being drained out of the country, such that those who are now competing with each other are barely getting through the day. They're scraping by on breadcrumbs. And so therefore they're neck on neck. They're tying, for crying out loud. Nobody is winning by a landslide anymore. And so because that's the thing, it is very difficult to identify that you have extracted all of your talent out of the country. It is hard to see it because everyone is mediocre. You cannot see mediocrity when everybody else is an aggregate mean standard. Everybody is an average. And so the people on the outliers of that normal distribution sitting on the far right or on the far left given that you've chucked them out of society. All they can do is scream on a rooftop, chilling in their mother's houses at the back of a house, in a shack, and say, why am I unemployed? While people are busy neck on neck, tied to each other as to who's number one in the country. I should be by now winning by a landslide. And yet, I can't even get a job. And yet, nobody's even trying to lift a phone and place me anywhere. Because people have allowed themselves to be so competitive that rather than give credit where it is that it is due, Bakampane bapata the best talent and then pretend that they're the good ones in the room. La loyana. You move each other out the way. I know of a chick at MTN that bewitched not only me, but 2 of my other colleagues, so that they would either lose their jobs or get, what is this thing called? Section 189, retrenched. So she would look like the best black project manager in the team. First of all, why did you make it about being black? It should just be the best project manager, period. But she literally squeezed out black female PMs out of the team so that she could shine and be the only one that's killing it and kicking it. She kicked women out of the team to be the best PM because she was literally somewhere in number 5. And she used witchcraft to get rid of us. I had a dream where I was in a car with 2 other project managers, and this chick was driving that car. She then got out while the car was driving, and that vehicle continued to drive, and then it fell into a ditch with me and these 2 other girls in the car. I would later come to learn, after I lost everything, that one woman who was also in that car with me in my dream took voluntary retrenchment. What the heck? So I lose my job, I get suspended without cause, and then later on I get fired. And then the other girl that was with me in the dream, I then later found out that she took voluntary retrenchment when they were doing the section 189s. She took voluntary. She just left. What the heck? She took the package, the severance package, and just left. And the third lady, I don't know what happened with her. I didn't keep tabs. I don't know if she stayed at MTN, but that chick did that. She squeezed 3 black female project managers out of MTN so she could basically be a star. Or number 4, girl, or number 5. So you're gonna go knock out number 1, 2, 3, and 4, and then leave you. So I mean, what is the quality of project managers on that day? What is the quality? I wouldn't be surprised if that chick, upon finding any frustration in the room from anybody, she then messed with them. First she messed with black colleagues. She might have even gone for the white chick that was newly brought into our team to be a PM. She might have died, I don't know. All I know is that that's the dream that I got in one batch, in one little, what do you call this? In one spell that she cast. She went to a sangoma, and in that one spell, she targeted me and 2 of my colleagues. Yo, guys, she got what she wanted. I wonder if she ultimately got heralded as an MTN star, because I guess she was gunning for that. But if at all she got to the place where she wanted, neck on neck, like literally with some other mediocre rando, some other buffoon that can't do jack. And the 2 of them are striving to scrape past, like, mean average. Do you understand? Just the average. Like, not even above average. She is striving to scrape past 51%. Just enough. And yeah, she's out here getting the accolade. Why? Because where's Karabo? Where's the other 2 chicks? Bago guy. Gone. That's South Africa for you. So, of course, you are going to refuse to give credit where it is due, when it is that the person that you stand to give credit that has displayed a basically just star quality has been stolen from. When you're the chick bewitching 5 of your colleagues to somehow mysteriously disappear from the company, of course, you are not going to be giving them a good appraisal should they try and get your referral. Give your name as a referral later on in the future. Of course, if you're that wicked boss that gave your former employee a bad appraisal score, you're going to speak badly about her, and you are going to go out of this white boss of ours, that woman that gave me the horrible appraisal score, yet another really gifted project manager, the one that did not want to train that Indian girl that I told you guys about. She was one of the best project managers that frankly I had ever known. And this chick was frustrated by what was going on at MTN, and she left within about 5 months of starting to work at MTN, or even 6. Like, she didn't last long, but we got tight in that time. And this chick, being one of the best PMs we've ever seen in our team anyway, when she wanted to leave the job, she was expecting that the boss would be like, but like, why? Try to retain her. But she just let her go. Again, when she was recruited into the company, she was supposed to work for some other boss, but then the boss above them all was like, no, I want you in that team. It's like that woman kept on giving that woman black girls that she didn't want. And so when this chick was now out here putting in her resignation, the boss lady was like, okay, goodbye. And then later on, she was, I guess, dealt a bad blow, but that's just what's going on in this country. All the good skills are being ignored. All the people that chick was so good that the whole business was rapping on about her. Like in the project that she was running, it was one of the biggest ones in the company. There's nobody that didn't want to snatch her for themselves. And then she goes and puts in her resignation and she's like, okay, goodbye. Okay, goodbye. Like when nobody is worth saving, when nobody's worth retaining, there's no country there. You have nothing left. When you don't work like a dog to keep your best people, there's no country. I've been crying about how it is that I want to leave South Africa. And ain't nobody out there trying to get me to stop trying to go. Like, you're literally just letting me slip through your hands, just like that. Well, that's the thing. It's not just South Africa that's willing to let me go. It appears it's the earth. When you are prepared to let go of your best people, when you are prepared to let go of individuals that are trying to give you hope for an eternal life, when you're trying to kick Christians out of the room, when you are trying to basically just get what you want in this world, like do what thou wilt, for that is the whole of the law. When you want a mediocre life, a substandard earth, where you can get to live out all of your sinful passions with nobody giving you grief, even if they are making a very compelling argument for why you're in trouble eternally, the Lord is going to give you exactly what you want. Just as the Lord gave MTN exactly what they wanted. They let go of one of their best employees, and God was like, very well, there's your reprobate state. Go on, do you with your mediocre neck-on-neck thing that you're going to be doing for the next coming years. Do you, in your grain of nastiness. I'll take Karabo away because you don't want her. Do you, South Africa? In letting go of your best people, there will be a skills exodus. There will be a skills drainage out of your country because you keep letting people like Karabo go. They will keep on going into the diaspora. They will keep on being buried in shacks at the backs of their mothers' houses. Your nation is going to bleed from skills. And then when you start to notice that it's cracking apart at the seams, because look now, you're grey listed. Look now, your junk status according to ratings agencies. Look now, you've got this power cut crisis. Look now, you've got this diaspora, the skills exodus. Look now, you have got this gender-based violence. Look now, you've got all of this corruption, all of these unseemly practices. Look now at the spike in all different kinds of whack stats. Look now at what you've done to your country. You asked for it because you are snatching from your own economies. Righteous men, you are taking out of your own countries good people. You are taking away individuals that spot talent and run with it instead of spot talent and try to bury it or exploit it. You are making sure that kids in high school, upon matriculating, getting out of their last exams in matric, knowing that they're bigger than that, knowing that they're bigger than this underestimation all over the show, can't even humbly prove that they are bigger than that, because as soon as anyone notices that they're bigger than that, they get extracted while they're still working in the call center. They get extracted while they're still pushing an admin job. They get extracted while still working in the mailing room of a big company. They get extracted while they're still trying to prove to some boss of some other department that they can rather be a developer. They get extracted before they get to show that I am that paradigm shifter. I am the next best idea in this company. I am the thing that's going to flip this model. I am the individual that's going to come up with such a bright spark idea that one day it's going to revolutionize how even we operate and how even our processes work in this company. We're going to become a market leader in that particular process, and it will all be because of me. When people get extracted before they can do that, when people get taken out of an environment before they can do that, you never even know, therefore, what it is that you could have been. You cannot miss that which you never actually experienced. But what South Africa is definitely experiencing is economic collapse. But you are not missing how much more fabulous the country would be. You're not missing the fact that we'd be well on our way to being a first world country. You are not missing the fact that we should not be having this power cut crisis. You are not missing the fact that all these issues, these inefficiencies, these inefficacies in our industry ought not be there. You're not missing them because it's already so cracked up. There are so many holes already. There are so many perforations in our bucket. There's so much that has already leaked that you cannot see that you are missing a freaking fabulous South Africa. A country that is utterly restored from the shambles it came out from apartheid in. You have no idea where we would be. You only understand where we currently are. And so there is no barometer by which to measure how far from grace you have fallen as a country, given that you extracted all of your good skills out of the land. You arrested your best men. You bewitched your best women. You bankrupted your best matriculants. You ensured that your best call center agents never break past that grain. That's what you did. And so now the country is like brimming at the folds with all of this ordinariness, all of this mediocrity. And nobody can tell the difference because, like I said, by what exactly is the barometer by which you are measuring your success? Because it definitely cannot be power cuts from last year versus this year. It definitely cannot be godliness from last year versus this year. I was a South African Christian in 2011. I got born again, and I grew so fervently, so effervescently for the Lord that I would make for an excellent evangelist. I would make for an excellent apologist, and I got kicked out of the body of Christ by Christians. Everything excellent in this land, including those that are trying to get people to heaven, is eradicated, and nobody is even trying to poach me from this country. When no country in the world is even trying to poach the best of your men or your women, seeing as you're so irresponsible with them, there's nowhere to go here anymore other than heaven, don't you see? And if at all you're not a citizen of heaven, then I guess you gotta stay on the planet and endure the tribulation. You gotta go through the tribulation because you've made upside down right way up and right way up upside down. You've made black white and white black. You've made everything gray. You have made pink purple and purple pink. You have absolutely refused to acknowledge fact for what it is. You have rejected absolute truth. You have rejected the magnanimity of God. So therefore, be gone. Be gone. Be gone with all of your travesties. Be gone with all of your dangerous wickednesses that are spreading themselves thin out in these streets. Why are you still working so hard in your cults, trying to kill me in your human sacrifices when I'm so freaking excellent at trying to evangelize you even out of the occult? I have convicted you of so much sin that you ought by now be flying high in heaven. You ought be buoyant now in the sky, seated in heavenly places with the man Christ Jesus. And yet, all this apologetics that I do every single day, you are ignoring it. Why? Because you're thieves. You have nothing by which to measure. All you can think about is how to lick a woman. Men, you want to date me instead of go to heaven. You want to enjoy your lives today. That's just the thing. You've been described in 2 Timothy 3 as lovers of pleasure rather than lovers of God. All you want to do is bring a woman, a massive, chunky, giant woman in the house of a pipsqueak, just because you were able to afford her just a tiny little semblance of comfort in the climate of all of her sorrow. And if at all she doesn't want to be with you, you abandon her to die. Such a gem of South Africa. Such a gem of the kingdom of heaven. Such a gem gospel servant. You are prepared that she should die because she doesn't want to be your wife. Because she doesn't want to marry you, given that you've got like 2 ex-wives, given that you've got 1 ex-wife, given that you've got all these kids running around all over the show, given that you're that Casanova dude that feels ego bruised because 1 woman didn't want you. You are hunting me like an animal in the wild precisely because I am uncatchable prey. And so for those reasons, you're prepared to let go of a star in the country, a woman above reproach, a good girl, an excellent stellar example for your daughters, a woman that can speak reason and sense into the womanhood of the country, and you are trying to kill her because she doesn't want to be your bride, even though you're a pipsqueak and unfunny. You have no business putting no ring on her finger. You're mad, you're angry, only because you're a thief.